You're listening to Vince and Matt on the Montreal Marketeers podcast. We're here with Nicholas, the founder of MIEL Montreal, and I have to say I'm really excited about this discussion here. It's a sweet topic.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
You're taking my place today.
I'm taking your place today. Maybe I'll start put some.
All right, honey.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. No, but we had a chance, Matt. We tasted this before.
Yes.
And like seriously,
this is not. I did not know honey could taste like this.
I didn't know.
Both on the tasting and also on the texture standpoint, it's
amazing. Yeah. Color, texture, consistency. I didn't know I even use those words with honey.
Yeah.
I'm so used to squeezing that honey out of that bottle, that plastic bottle, the Bear or whatnot, the brand. This like you can't go back. Once you go MIEL Montreal, you will not go back to the other honey.
Very true.
It's amazing. So without further ado, Nicholas, how would you start by telling the audience who you are and what MIEL Montreal is all about?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show today, the podcast today. I started my company a few years ago. I'll get into the story in a little, but started my business with the goal of bringing back the bees and the honey and better than ever. And I wanted to create a product that people could relate to and get excited about. And I wanted to have that here in Montreal and have a product that also gave back, So it's a pleasure to be able to showcase that today and tell you a little bit more about me and my story.
Cool.
Perfect.
And when you say give back, I guess we'll start on that. What is giving back with making honey? Like, what does it involve?
So traditionally, businesses, when they go to create a product, like if you're going to create paper, they'll take trees, cut down trees to create this paper, and there's a lot of waste and resources used. And when I wanted to create this product, I wanted to have something to give back. And so the honey is very unique in the sense where we have the bees, and the bees pollinate the local flowers, fruits, and vegetables. So when you have bees in an area, you not only help contribute those fruits and vegetables, you also help create the future seeds of the flowers, which helps make the area more lush year after year. And so you actually go towards giving back to the area in terms of the flowers, in terms of the fruits, the vegetables, the farmers, the community, educating the people, the schools, the citizens, working with the city. And so we work towards giving back in terms of the environmental standpoint and also towards a community standpoint.
Yeah, because when I heard about bees in the news, it's usually a bad thing, right? Where how it affects the whole food chain, kind of what you're discussing, and people really get scared at one point, like what happens if we lose all the bees?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, without bees, we wouldn't have the agriculture we have. Bees pollinate 2/3 of the agriculture on Earth, and if we didn't have bees, humans would only have about 2 or 3 years left max on Earth. So bees are existential to life here on Earth, so it's super important we take care of them. And now more than ever, as the bee population is on the decline, they've taken a hit from different illnesses, parasites, pesticides, and so it's super important that we take care of them and we work with them and try to find natural means and not go down the chemical or other routes.
Cool. So let's say in practicality, I'm holding a container of MIEL MTL, Miel de Montréal, summer 2017, 320 grams. What did it take to make these 320 grams of honey?
So believe it or not, a single jar of our honey would take about 1.5 million, 1.5 million flowers from about a 2 to 3 kilometer distance where the beehive is. So what makes that within each neighborhood or within each area where the beehives are located, they collect a unique honey depending on the season and that area, and they'll showcase that honey with the flowers from that area. So in spring, oftentimes we have the dandelions and the apple blossoms, the blueberry blossoms, the raspberry blossoms. So we have more zesty honey. And in summer, we have more of the lighter yellow flowers, the clover, the alfalfa. So we have a more floral honey, and in fall we have a little bit more of a fruity honey, more orange depending on the fall flowers. So it makes it very unique. So we try to showcase these different varieties and show people that there's different flavors to honey and there's different areas, and people can go towards actually learning and discovering these areas through the honey. It's really cool.
And what started your passion for honey? I mean, why honey? Why not do something like this with the many other food-related products, olive oil, and so forth. Why honey?
So I didn't start MIEL MTL with the intention of making it per se a business. I started MIEL MTL after being chronically diagnosed with Lyme disease, and that was a mentally and physically debilitating illness. I was prescribed over 60 pills of medicine per day, so over 5,000 pills in a 5-month period, and it ended up tearing a hole in my stomach lining. I was on intravenous heart medication, on morphine, and I was always in the hospital, had to drop out of school, and I was just 20 years old, in bed about 23 hours a day, and I wanted to find a way to get better. And after being sick for so long, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. How can I get better? So I went to see my Chinese medicine doctor, and I asked him for a list of things that were healing, something natural that's healing. And one of the things he recommended was unprocessed honey, or raw honey. And so I started trying this honey, and within a few days, all my pain sort of went away. My digestive
A few
few days.
Wow.
I was taking the honey in hot water, just like a tea, and drinking it. And I was in bed all the time, eating under 500 calories a day. And slowly I started getting out of bed, started walking around, exercising again, seeing some friends, getting back into school. And slowly, week by week, started getting better and better. And as I was getting better, I started buying honeys from all around the world, and noticed that the different honeys, similar to wine and fruits, had different flavors. And so I noticed that depending on where the flowers were, or depending on what the area was, we had a different type of honey. And so I would have honeys from New Zealand, from France, from South America, from all over North America, and I had this amazing collection. Some tasted like orange, some tasted like lavender, some tasted like mint, some tasted like caramel. And so I decided that it was so amazing that the people had these different beehives in different areas, that maybe I could contribute towards the bees and help give back to the bees that did so much for me. And I looked into the opportunity of maybe having my own beehive, and I did a lot of researching, and month by month I started learning from different books and different beekeepers and videos and from different areas around the world. And I built up a big passion for not only wanting to have a honey that's unique from the area, but have a honey that's medicinal, that's healing, a honey that's healing like a honey that healed me, and have a honey that showcases the flowers from the area, honey that people can relate to, and have the bees that people can learn about, and they go towards being here in Montreal, where they can help pollinate and give back towards the bee population. So I had the passion of doing all that, and so when I started telling people this, everyone said, Nick, I want a jar of your honey. And so I said, all right. So I had the goal of doing my first 200 jars of honey to pay for the bees and the expenses for the year. And I ended up selling and producing over 1,500 jars in the first year.
Well, congratulations.
So it really took off from there. So
very nice. What are you producing now at this point in time?
So in the first year, we ended up producing over 1,500 jars with the goal of doing 200. And it was incredible because something that I learned along the way was the bees don't only produce honey, they also consume honey. So to create the wax, the hexagon structures that you guys see, the bees need to eat a lot of honey to make the wax. So the bees will consume about 10 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax.
Wow.
So it's very resource intensive to make this wax. So the first year I had the bees were making all this beeswax. And so in the first month, the bees ate over 200 pounds of honey. So my whole goal for the year was gone. The bees ate it all. And so, I didn't know what to do. I thought, sorry guys, I'm not going to have any honey. And I ended up doing some changes, merging some beehives together, being patient, changing the dimensions of stuff, and ended up doing very well. And took this honey to local stores, local people who were interested, and farmers markets. And second year, I had so much interest. It was crazy. I didn't expect to have so much support. I didn't think people were into honey that much. So when they heard my story and they heard that it's making honey locally and they could help give back and contribute, everyone was so excited that I was like, okay, I'd love to double what I did this year. So go from the 1,500 jars to 3,000 jars, and that's a big jump.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing happened in the first winter. I had all these goals of growing. Everyone was so proud of me. I was proud of myself. I listened to another beekeeper about what to do for winter and wrapped all my beehives, and they all died, unfortunately. All my bees didn't make it through the first winter, and I was devastated. I was so hurt and sad, and I was so bummed out. I was like, how come I'm the only person, contributing these bees, and how come no one else is getting involved? And when I asked myself that question, I realized it's because people can't get involved. That's the problem. How can people get involved? People don't know about honey. They can't have bees. It's more complicated than that. So how can I get people involved? So with that question, I came up with something crazy. And this is the second time that a really devastating situation happened. First, Lyme disease, been found in my company. Second one being all the bees dying in winter. And I found this idea of getting people involved, and I created a program called Sponsor a Hive program. And it's to partner up with organizations, universities, schools, restaurants, businesses, to have bees, families, farms, to have bees, have a beehive from them for their area. And then the bees will not only contribute hundreds of millions of flowers pollinated in the area, they'll also collect the honey that we'll bottle and label personally for them that they can showcase. So these businesses, when I told them the idea of maybe having a beehive on the restaurant or terrace or garden or backyard, they were all super interested, and I ended up getting 38 partners in the second year. So it was actually not a bad thing, not a good thing. It was taking a bad situation and turning it good, and I think that's something really important in business and in life. And so that transition helped me achieve that goal of wanting to produce, those 3,000 jars, have those bees in different areas. And I ended up going from having 7 beehives in 2 neighborhoods in the first year to having over 38 beehives in about 11 neighborhoods in the second year. So I ended up producing over 4,600 jars in the second year.
Wow.
So we definitely outdid our record. Worked hard. I hired 2 part-time employees to help me.
I was going to say, how do you manage that growth? That's intense.
Yeah, I had to get a new vehicle, had to get a dedicated pickup truck, had to get bigger office space. So with all that, the expenses grow, but it was an incredible year. So proud of all we accomplished and all the people we got to meet along the year. And this year, we continue that path of success. And then with me graduating university, going into this full time, tried to get the goal of doing 5 to 10,000, and we're definitely already on the way to the 10,000 plus mark.
Wow! Congratulations!
And what did you study in?
Very interesting. Growing up, I studied psychology and slowly transitioned into business, and always loved the interactions between people and tried to keep that sort of positive mindset just with a good work ethic. So it was the best of both worlds.
Cool. What were you mentioned a lot of challenges there when you first started out and continuously throughout the last few years. Was there anything that really was different for you to handle, in the sense that you had to go into a market that you didn't know much about bees or honey to begin with? Was that harder than managing these stumps along the way, these ups and downs? I'm just curious, because I can see myself going into something I know nothing about would be more scary than almost these ups and downs.
Well, at the same time, for me anyways, it seems like you were very passionate about honey because it helped you so much.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious. What would be the toughest? What was the toughest time during this?
The reason that I want to say I wasn't scared, and I wasn't, but the reason that I wasn't scared was I didn't have the goal of making this a business where I needed to make money or have support my kids or a family or myself. It was more of the goal of having a positive idea that can give back to the community, to people, to me, and so that just really grew, and having that good work ethic and that positive mindset, it grew. So I was never scared, I was always excited. So at first I had to figure out how could I open and register a business. You have to figure that out. You have to get that registered with the government. So I had to go through those hoops. And although it could be scary, it was exciting to get those papers, and things didn't work out, and it was tough at first, and I registered for a business in Canada. I needed to do it in Quebec. And although, there's some things to be done, people are always happy to help, which is amazing. I never expected people to be so supportive, and they were. And I just tackled things one step at a time. I tried to understand the beekeeping, how to get the equipment, and where to find bees, and how to get my business registered. And I tried to break it down and make it very simple to tackle step by step. And when I wasn't confident in what I was doing, I always asked for help. And you can never be shy to ask for help. Because although sometimes the person who's helping you may not be the best person for the job, they'll get you on that path. They'll get you rolling. And the more you ask, sometimes the more you get. So sometimes you have to be willing to take sort of that excitement, that risk. And to mitigate that, I was able to start small and grow. So when I started my business, I started with $4,500. And that money was money I saved up over summer jobs. But more than that, the summer before I started my business, I went to businesses and I was buying their Blackberries. This was in the time when Blackberries were very hot. Everyone had a Blackberry. Every business person, every teenager, BBM, this and that. So I would buy Blackberries, use Blackberries, and I would refurbish them. I'd buy parts from different countries, refurbish them myself, and then I'd go to different companies and get them unlocked. When I got the phones unlocked and refurbished, I would buy brand new chargers and brand new cables, wholesale, so 50, 100 of them at the time, and 50 or 100 Blackberries at the time, and the pieces. So the unit cost for a Blackberry on average for me was about $30, and on average I'd sell them for about $90 or $120. Wow. So I ended up, taking all these used electronics, refurbishing them and selling them, and the people who were buying them were getting a deal on them, and I was making good profit, so everyone was happy, and that actually funded my venture. Huh. So it's pretty interesting how that happened. And as I made more money, I reinvested that money into the company and never really needed to never up to this date needed to take out any loans or get any financing. Oh. So it was good to be able to not be too nervous, by being able to mitigate risks and financial decisions.
So this wasn't your first entrepreneurial activity.
No, when I was a kid, I used to modify video games, put them on a USB stick, and sell them in high school. So
nice.
I love it. That's amazing. What was your favorite game to modify?
So it was Grand Theft Auto. We used to put all the different new cars and skins and characters in the game, and sometimes even new geographical areas, and we'd load that onto a stick, and everyone in the school had laptops, so every $5 a pop, you're in and you're out.
Nice.
Next thing you know, different grades are lining up. So it was
very
fun.
Cool. And what makes, I want to get on the psychology side of it now here. So what's going on through your head when you think of these opportunities? How do you come across them? Is it that you come across them and you recognize that there's a solution to be had here? Are you looking for them? Just, if someone your age now is looking to get into an entrepreneurial activity, how did you recognize these opportunities? Whether it's video game on a USB stick, honey, or refurbishing Blackberries.
Super interesting. Well, for some of these stuff that I did, I was looking at the demand. So people wanted Blackberries, people wanted this modified game, people want this exclusive honey from Montreal. So we have to look at demand. When the demand is there, even though the product doesn't exist yet, if you could imagine that people would be interested in this product, people would want that product, then if you produce it, they're going to buy it, especially if it's affordable. So that's one thing. And second thing I'd say is, more stems from passion, wanting to put out a product and get people excited about it and have people learn about it. And that was one of the big reasons that I do a lot of the things I do is I want to educate a little bit more. People don't really know about bees and honey, and I didn't have honey in my house growing up, believe it or not. Okay. So when I learned about it and it changed my life, I also want to teach a little bit about it and share that. So I wanted to not only look at what people wanted, but also supply something with like you guys I really admire, something with a story, but with passion and with reason and meaning behind it.
So there's obviously, you could find raw honey because you were having it as medication at that one time.
Right.
But was it like this? Was it the flavor behind it, or was it just raw honey, no backstory, no nothing? When you first started taking raw honey, was it easy to find an equivalent to your product?
Oh, well, the honey is never... Well, every jar has a story of some sort, and I always admire that because there is some beekeeper who's doing some sort of crazy trekking, and okay. People don't know this, but beekeepers don't get paid by the government or subsidize what they do. They actually have to pay to do what they do. We have to pay for permits to do this. So we have to pay to do this. And as a result, you almost seem like you're a little bit crazy. And so every jar, no matter how they make it, even if they use heat or not, there's a story behind it, and there's some passion, and they love the bees. And so I realized that, and And when I was buying the honeys from around the world, I spoke to some of these people and connected with some of these beekeepers and ended up trading honeys with them later on when I had my business and developing a community. And so I think that there will always be some sort of passion. I think passion is always going to outperform. I think hard work and passion and being positive is gonna always be a winning sort of combination. And so I just sort of worked hard and kept that positive attitude. And sometimes people won't be willing to buy the product because maybe it's too expensive or it doesn't fit what they have, and that's okay. You know, sometimes you'll take shots and you'll miss, but the more shots you take, the more times you'll score. Yeah. So I just sort of kept on being positive and working forward with that.
So when you were talking, I found it interesting. You were talking about partners where you want to see, I guess, restaurants as well in that when you want to see if their hives. Do they incorporate in their food the honey, like once it was produced, or do you have any of that type of partnership going on?
Yes, so it's very interesting. A lot of the restaurants we partner with do use the honey in their foods and use it at the bar, use it in their cocktails and in their coffees and throughout their dishes. So that keeps it very exciting, their unique honey. And oftentimes they have it available for people to pick up. So if people want to get a jar from the rooftop or from the backyard, they have that available as well. So that's pretty exciting. So try to make it available to the community and also incorporate it. And then when we have schools, oftentimes that's with the students. We do a lot of presentations and talks and events. And when we work with the farms, we create a unique honey from the farms that helps pollinate the fruits and vegetables, which is fantastic. Creating our fruits and vegetables, we try to always be organic or chemical free. And so they're always able to showcase the honey in their community. So we always try to partner with about 2 or 3 businesses or organizations or schools in a community to try to work with the different sectors and showcase the honey in different ways. As you can imagine, when a business gets honey from their rooftop, oftentimes it's an incredible it's an incredible gift or token or a little piece of something special. And so oftentimes businesses might use it for customers, for clients, for their staff, or for their break room. And so there's different ways to showcase the honey to different types of people. And at the end of the day, the more types of people that can have the honey, the better. So we try to touch everybody to teach them a little bit. So whether you're a business person or an environmental studies person, we want to try to reach you guys, you know.
Mm-hmm. So everybody in Montreal has to buy the honey. That's the goal, right?
Well, it's not that they have to, but if they want to support something,
as a goal for
incredible,
you think you should be reaching you think there is the potential, right?
For sure, we tend to sell out every year, and we try to work with people who have the same vision as us. So we don't try to oversaturate it or change our vision to try to produce more. It's more about keeping that image and trying to grow with the right people. And it's incredible the people that matter and sort of levitate towards that or gravitate towards that. Some of the people and partners I work with are just such great people, such amazing people, such big hearts, that when they're able to share that same vision as us, it makes it really special. And so we want to keep doing that. We don't have any of our honey in any grocery stores. And when we work with the stores, we try to keep that positive relationship. We think it's so important.
Now, when you had to find your partners, obviously it was probably difficult at the beginning. Was it a lot of cold calling? Were you scanning the market to see who would be an interesting partner, not only from a customer standpoint, but that you'd like to be associated to the brand or name, what they're doing in the marketplace, whether it be a company or a location, an area? I'm just curious now with, you can Instagram message a company almost, you can Facebook message to kind of get in their mindset. How were you going about getting those partners?
Super interesting. So in the first year, I didn't really have any partners because I was just producing the honey and selling to local stores. So when the second year came around and I had that sponsor a hive program that I came up with, I had to figure out who can I partner with. And so I tried to identify which types of businesses or organizations I could partner with. And I figured restaurants could work well because they could retail the honey, or they could use it in their dishes, or they could have it at events.
So consumption from their standpoint is dual. They can sell it, use it themselves.
Yeah,
so it's high consumption.
And it's really interesting for them to have the bees on the roof and to contribute to an area for their customers and for them. And they could come and see it, and it makes it's a foodie industry, and this is an incredible product. It's very local.
Well, you have your own garden too, right?
Exactly.
I know Joe Beef was had their own
Right.
garden. They were
Yes.
big press on that.
Right,
So,
so
honey is a natural.
It makes it that worked really well. So we tried to talk to the restaurants that we worked with in the past and some new ones. Sometimes we would Instagram, sometimes we'd call, sometimes we'd email. When I say we, I mean me. Me and MIEL MTL. MIEL MTL and I. And I did it all, and sometimes I wouldn't get answers back, and at first I was, I'd take it personally sometimes, but that's how it is in business. And when you're asking for things from people, they're not always willing to give. So you have to be willing to ask, and I was always very passionate, so I'd be okay taking no for an answer, but I'd always do my best. And with the years I'd learned, or with the months I'd learned, I used to give people a lot of information, and it didn't necessarily make it easier for them to make a decision. So now I try to make it simpler for them to make a decision by giving them either more pertinent information or try to get people excited about the idea and show them an incredible experience or venture and all of the amazing things that they can benefit from it, so they can get a taste of something, because people will never know what the experience is, and when they go through it, it completely changes their life. To be able to have this bees interaction with nature in the community, it's like nothing else. So to be able to partner with the restaurants is incredible. Then the schools, I figured schools is fantastic because it's great for students to learn about this. It's great for the community. It also ties into the sort of agriculture field where people want to have backyards, they want to have gardens, they want to have flowers, fruits and vegetables. So it's an important thing to learn about as well as to contribute towards. So having schools as partners is fantastic. So we work with preschool, high schools, universities. And then we looked at working with local businesses. We figured that we were a local business whose goal was to buy as much as we can locally, to give back locally, to have a local product. So to pair up with other local businesses who maybe share that image would be fantastic. So we approached a lot of local businesses, some of them that were technology businesses, some of them in steel, some of them in food or in production, and it doesn't necessarily have to have any sort of relation towards honey. It's just about giving people the opportunity towards contributing a beehive, having the bees, and contributing towards the area. And we ended up having an incredible vast amount of partners. I think about 22 partners with 38 beehives. So a little bit of everybody. And so it did take the Instagram messaging, it did take emails, it did take calls. It took visits. You got to meet people, and over the years I learned the best way to close any deal is to meet someone. It's not to give them so much information in email because it might be too much at the time. It might not be persuasive. Yep. So meet somebody and get them as excited as you are. That's the best way to do it. So
the cold call really was to set up the meeting.
So at first I would try to do everything by email to avoid maybe meeting and the calls, but then later on I learned that if you can meet somebody and they can be confident in you and your product and your story and your excitement, then that's usually what's going to work best, because you're creating a better and stronger relationship from the beginning. So that's the way I sort of went into things, is try to just do the email or messaging to meet people, give them a little taste of it, and when you try to set up a meeting and doesn't have to be super serious. It's just be able to talk to someone.
And they're ready at that time. They know we're discussing this as well. It's not like, I'm going to call you now and we're going to talk about this now.
And any business person should be able to speak about their business at any time without having to sweat. It's something that comes naturally, right?
Yeah.
Plus, it is a product. And Matt, stop hogging the honey, please.
And another
trying to work here, huh?
And another thing I did was I definitely pursued all opportunities. So everyone that messaged me or had a friend that was interested or another businesses, I always pursued the opportunity, every single one. And of course, some didn't work out, but the majority did. And those opportunities always led to other ones. So for every store that works out really well, you're bound to find other people who are interested in the product, who have a business, who are interested, who want a beehive, who have a farm, who have their own store, who have a restaurant. So it was actually like pursuing those opportunities, and when new opportunities came about, pursuing those. And even if you didn't have enough bees, you can tell people, we can do it for like spring next year type thing, try to set things up. So pursue new opportunities, and if you can't fulfill them at the time, put it in a certain way that's more like on the back burner, and you can bring it to life as soon as you get the opportunity and resources.
And it's not like you can just make a bee.
Right.
There is limitations to how fast they're going to
if
grow,
people
right?
want like 500 jars and you'd be like, well, unfortunately the bees aren't producing honey right now, but we can get it to you in a few weeks or a few months or something like this, or we make a limited amount in every neighborhood, but we'd be more than happy to add more beehives for you and to get the honey for you guys and from your bees.
Yeah, that's
and as soon as we'll deliver it for you guys with your labels. So it's about making it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These things don't exist right now, so you have to make it happen, and you always have to adapt.
And I can imagine that in your meetings, I can see this working in person, because literally you're opening up the jar, you're tasting, and you're interacting with the product. All your senses are heightened.
Well,
right?
it's one thing to say.
It's
kind of like when we first met, like, well, try the honey, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I think it would have been a very different discussion for us if we didn't actually try it and see, wow, this is actually very different.
Yeah, you taste, the different flowers in there. You taste the lemon.
Well, my aunt loves honey.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't even have honey in my house growing up, so I didn't even think much about honey. If someone offered it to me, I might not even have taken it. And now when I go to a store and I see someone sampling a product, I know everything that goes into that. I know the passion that guy has for that product, the time he's taking to be there, all the no and denial he gets, and I always take the time to go to talk to people who are doing that, and everyone shares that sort of passion.
Yeah.
So
It's funny because if you go to the pharmacy, because I 2 months ago, my throat was killing me, and I was telling my wife, you know what? I think I have strep throat. I don't know what it is. And really, my mom would always tell me, take honey, tea, a bit of lemon, or a bit of ginger, right? These natural products, put them in. And we always think of going to the pharmacy and buying those lemon drops, the lozenges you put, is exactly what you would put in your tea. It's the same thing. So why are we doing it? We get the natural product.
And you know what's really funny about that is, when I was growing up, both my parents work, and I had a sort of housekeeper, nanny taking care of the kids, 4 kids, and she'd always tell us to, like you said, put honey and lemon in hot water when you're sick, tea. Mm-hmm. And the honey she used to use was the honey from the bear. And this is something that a lot of people don't know, is there were studies done recently from pollen experts testing hundreds of honeys from around North America. 7 on 10 ended up being tested as artificial or fake. And so a lot of these honeys contain not only white sugar or sugar syrups, but also corn syrups. And these are proven to lower your immune system. So when people are taking these honeys, which they think are honey, which unfortunately tend to be artificial honeys or fake honeys, when they're sick, which are full of corn syrup, it actually lowers their immune system. So you actually can get more sick from taking it. So it's so important that when you take a product, it's the real product. And so that's why we want to also teach people a little bit about the honey, and also come out with a product that's medicinal, it's never been heated or adulterated or processed. So it retains those medicinal properties the way it's intended to. And it's crazy now that the world we live in, so many things is so processed that it no longer has those properties that we think it does, And
I'm assuming by not having it as processed, it is one of the reasons why the honey is more expensive. Like, it comes down to that there's a reason why everybody's processing it, they're doing it in such a way, because it probably costs a lot less, right?
So there'd be 2 or 3 main reasons why the honey may cost more. The first reason is, throughout the year when beekeepers collect the honey from the bees have nothing to eat. So when the beekeepers take all the honey, they generally feed them corn syrup or sugar syrup to replenish the stores so the bees can eat. And unfortunately, oftentimes that finds its way back into the honey, because when the beekeeper goes to collect the next batch of honey, the hexagon cells are full of sugar syrup or corn syrup. And unfortunately, we find a lot of that on the shelves, more commercial honey that's full of the corn syrup or sugar syrup. So it's cheaper to produce, the beekeepers produce more of it, and it's a lower quality product in terms of its medicinal value, in terms of its quality, in terms of how it's processed. And so that's one reason that honey may cost less. Another reason is a lot of honey is artificial to begin with, so it's made in a company. People don't know this, but in China, a lot of the times when they produce lactose-free milk, when they remove the lactose, which is the milk sugar, they dye it yellow, and they sell it as honey. And it's actually very dangerous. It's very inflammatory, and a lot of people can have problems with that. And that's found in a lot of grocery stores across North America when they test for honeys and artificial honeys. So It can be very bad, and it can be fake, artificial. So these are reasons that honey can be cheap. So when we produce real honey, which is just honey from actual bees, as opposed to from sugar syrup, it has a price or a cost associated with it. The second reason is we don't process our honey. So just like when you have wet salad, you spin it in a centrifuge to get the water out. We spin the frames of honey to get the honey out. And so it's been cold extracted, so it retains all the medicinal and nutritional properties. So it has all the enzymes and antioxidants in it. And so the honey is still considered living. It's bottled right away. So it's one of the highest qualities of honey possible. It has about 1.5 million flowers per jar. It's very medicinal. And our bees also are never fed the corn or sugar syrup throughout the year. So we don't have that chance of adulteration. And when we go to take the honey as a result, we do sustainable harvests. So we collect a limited amount of honey from each neighborhood, from each beehive, so that the bees have enough so that they can thrive and survive on their own. So we don't want to have to rely on chemicals or sugar syrups or do a commercial operation where we're trying to milk the bees. The goal is not to milk the bees and to produce the cheapest quality possible. It's complete opposite. It's to try to give the most back towards the bees and to showcase the best quality product possible.
We say it often when we interview for our podcast, keep your workers happy. You know what I mean? And it's same thing here, right?
It's the same thing.
And that's what it's all about, it really. And when I started, I told you guys how I took the honey that helped heal my digestive system. I had a hole in my stomach lining, helped me get my life back on track. Well, the bees also produce something called propolis, which is the essential oils from plants and trees. So it's a plant and tree resin. The bees collect that and put it in their hive. It keeps their hive sterile. If an animal were to be wrapped in propolis, it would never rot. It'd be permanently mummified. It is one on 2 substances on Earth that's proven to reverse tumor growth. So this propolis, the essential oils that the bees were collecting, I was using that to also heal my Lyme disease and my other illnesses that I had at the time. And so in combination with the honey and the propolis and the third ingredient being the pollen, which is a source of energy, I was able to get much, much better. And so it showcases that the bees collaboratively create an incredible product. And so we don't want to take advantage of that. We want to go towards showcasing that beauty and giving them what they worked so hard to have. And if ever we go towards collecting that, it'd be in a cruelty-free and sustainable fashion. And so we try to set that from the beginning, being cruelty-free and being chemical-free. And that's something that we don't see commercially in any honey. And so that definitely has an effect on not only on our business and the quality of product we produce, but maybe also on the cost for the consumer. Our product is very affordable. A cheap honey is between $5 and $10, and a good quality honey is usually between $10 and $20. And as the year goes on, we try to get our honey closer and closer to that $10 mark to try to make it affordable for everybody so they can use their honey and not worry about buying the bear and having to
it's very interesting
damage their wallet.
Yeah, you're trying to find a way that they can enjoy honey as it's supposed to be at the price that they're paying today, which is very
unfortunately
unique.
The biggest person that takes the hit is us because it's very expensive to produce a product. Like when we make honey on the rooftops, everything goes up and down by a single rope, and one beehive weighs 200 pounds. So if we have 80 beehives, that's 16,000 pounds. So it's a lot of work to be doing every week, to be moving things up and down and collecting the honey. It's very labor intensive, time consuming, limited quantity. So it's a very expensive product to make, but we want people to be happy with the product they buy and with the price they're paying. So we try to make it more affordable than the value of the product, which is something that we're willing to do to try to get the product out there and people to appreciate it. And recently we've come out with different varieties of honey. And so we've been able to have different price points. So to have some more exclusive varieties and some varieties that are more available, maybe in bigger quantities and more consistent varieties and batches. So it makes for a nice variety. And so people can have different ranges of honey and they can try different flavors and discover different areas through them.
And when you say different price points, I believe there's 3, right? And it's not like it's a lot more expensive from what I can see.
So we have our normal jars, which all our jars come from Italy. And before I started my company, as well as being an entrepreneur and having various summer jobs, I was a graphic designer. So we do all the labeling ourselves and all the graphics. So when we were able to produce, I guess, our honey our way, we were able to, I guess, like create create a product that's probably worth double what we sell it for, but we want to make sure that people can not only buy it, but we didn't want people just to use a small little spoonful at a time. So we wanted to make sure that people wouldn't just have it hidden away. Oh, this is our special honey from Montreal. We wanted people to be able to use the honey and put in the recipes and put in their salad dressing. So when it was too expensive, people wouldn't use a lot of it.
Absolutely.
So we had to lower the price to get people to try to encourage to use it more. And then we figured if we had a smaller size jar, we can make it less expensive. So people who were willing to maybe get the honey but thought it was too expensive could still buy it. And so that did quite well, the half size jar, a little bit less expensive. The stores pretty much make a similar margin on that. So it did well for the stores and for the people. And the third thing we were able to do, like we talked about, was differentiate some varieties. So we came out with our neighborhood series, which is the honey from different neighborhoods like Westmount and Outremont, Verdun, NDG, South Shore, Laval, Laurentians, Eastern Townships, etc. So each of those honeys is unique to the area and is collected sustainably in limited quantities in each neighborhood. And those honeys tend to retail at $13.99 across the stores. And the honeys tend to be within their neighborhood. So if you go to Westmount, you'll find the Westmount honey in the Westmount stores, etc., etc. And then we have a more, I don't like to use the word generic, but a more available line of honey that's called the Miel de Montreal. And the Miel de Montréal line of honey is a line of honey that people can relate to whether they're from that neighborhood or not. Yeah. And it's a choix de chef in the sense where I select which varieties from which seasons are bottled. And it's an incredible showcase of the seasons of the honey. So the spring being a little bit more zesty, the summer being a little bit more floral, and the fall being a little bit more fruity. And so we're able to showcase those three amazing honeys through the Miel de Montréal series at a more affordable price of about $12 retail. So with the years, we were able to drop the price down and down and down, making it more affordable for stores to buy and for the customers to buy at the end of the day. And it ended up being beneficial for us because we have people who are able to buy more honey, use it more, and we have people who before thought the honey's a little bit expensive, who now can use it regularly, and it's priced more similar to, all other honeys in the market.
It's interesting because then you can kind of also taste. It's not going to be the same taste the next time you have it. I find that so cool. It's a way to try different honey, the same quality, just different taste.
Yeah, it makes it super exciting.
It's very fun. Do you also sell internationally, by the way? Do you sell to the U.S.?
So we started selling across Montreal, and throughout second and third year, we've sold to stores in British Columbia, in Victoria, British Columbia, in Toronto, and in Venice, California. Oh. And we shipped our honey across Europe, and so it's getting its dose of.
How do they ask for it? They found you through a referral or website?
Instagram has been pretty big for us in terms of putting out some pictures and content for people to see us and learn about us. And then I think a lot of people message us through our website at www.mielmtl.com. So people can contact us through there. We get a lot of emails. It's not unusual for my inbox to be, at 56 emails, and the next day it's at 5, and then back at 56. So it's amazing the support we have, and try to always get back to people right away and work with them, whether it be for 1 jar or for 100 jars or for 1 beehive or 10 beehives. Everything is important for us. So do a lot of that, and recently I've been getting a lot of phone calls from all sorts of people who are interested in honey. So definitely trying to pursue all these opportunities.
So what's the next honey? Is there a next honey product? Are you thinking incorporating honey in a different category?
So for us, there's a lot of opportunity for us to expand across Montreal. Like we talked about, selling across North America and Europe, and through Instagram, through our website. We're not in that many stores. We're only in about 20 stores. My goal would be to be available in most neighborhoods, and there's a lot of neighborhoods we're not even available in yet, and we never had the quantities in the past. And so now when we're more towards having those availabilities. I'd be interested in partnering up with some more stores as time goes on, the right stores, and growing more within Montreal, more within Quebec, then maybe more throughout Ontario and Canada before going too much internationally. For us, the shipping unfortunately takes away from the margins of anyone who wants to resell the honey. So because honey is heavy and fragile, it's expensive to ship. So that's been a little bit of, not per se a limiting factor, but it is considered a limiting factor. So we try to always deliver the honey across the different areas of Montreal and Quebec. And so we want to keep growing that within Montreal and Quebec, for the next 3 years, I'd say. And we have some goals of doing some bigger partnerships, trying to work with the Children's Hospital, maybe try to work with companies like Bombardier, and try to contribute beehives and the honey to not only to the different areas, but also towards giving the honey to the hospital to help fundraise, to help kids and to help the families who can't afford some of the products that we make or that the society has to offer. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for growth in those fields. And I think that's going to be definitely before going internationally.
Okay.
And do you sell direct, by the way? Do you sell direct to consumer on your website? Do you have a little e-commerce platform?
We do. We sell online. We tend to only sell about 10% online and 90% in stores. So a lot more in stores. But you can definitely find our honey online. And for now, you'll only see honey. In the future, it's possible you'll see our products infused with some other products, maybe honey beer or honey chocolate, honey raw chocolate. So definitely some opportunities. We've tried a kombucha in the past that was successful but difficult to manage with all the refrigeration. So definitely some products. If people are interested in anything in particular, definitely let us know, and that way I'll expedite the process of that getting done. And we try to, I think in business it's so important to have a focus and to try to be the best at what you do. And one of the reasons we've been so successful is we try to just focus on having the most incredible raw honey and just really be the best at that. And as a result, we seem to have some of the best raw honey available anywhere, and have an incredible group of people around us and relationships and bees and so everything's been really fantastic that way. So we focus on the honey, and with that things will grow from there. Okay. So definitely keep your eyes out.
How do people, whether they want to become a partner, or they want to buy your honey, or they want to work on a project with you, how do they reach out to you? Tell people how they can reach you, whether through Instagram, email, and so forth. So
the easiest way to reach us is through our website, which is just MIELMTL.com. There's a contact me button, contact us button. It's very easy to contact me through Instagram. It's just MIEL MTL. And very easy to contact us through Facebook. We're very friendly. Believe it or not, 99.9% of bees don't sting. It's people always.
I still don't believe that, by the way.
People always ask me if the bees sting, but the bees we work with have been working with humans alongside humans for thousands of years since the ancient Egyptians. They've floated beehives on the River Nile, and the bees would collect the different flowers in the different seasons, making unique honey. And so humans have been working with bees as long as humans have been in existence. And so we're sort of carrying on that torch of having those bees and having them here in Montreal where people can contribute them. But it makes it interesting because in the modern society, people don't necessarily have that same connection with nature or with honey as they used to. So as a young person, I really wanted to try to bring back that excitement and showcase like some of that,
Mm-hmm. And we usually end our podcast with a funny note, a question tailored to the individual. So this one here, I'm just curious. So you're only allowed to make 3 dishes or 3 drinks, whatever your choice, mixed with honey. I know you have a lot of recipes on your website, which I saw. What would be your favorite 3 things, whether it's food related, drink related, to mix your honey in?
Okay,
what would you
perfect.
Want to do?
So the first would be my favorite and the best thing to do with honey is put in your tea and your coffee in the morning. It's not only an incredible replacement for sugar, it adds a little bit of flavor, and it's the only type of sugar in the world that's safe for people with diabetes. So the body assimilates raw honey more like a medicine. So it's a great way to start your day and sweeten your coffee and tea. Second way I love to use honey would be in smoothies or in salad dressings. I love to infuse it. So having a beautiful honey mustard salad dressing is really one of my favorite things. It brings a lot of life to a salad, and having a little bit of honey in a smoothie is really special. And the last thing, which people might think I'm crazy, but once they try our honey, they'll believe it, is just with a spoon. You take a little spoonful of the honey and try it, and it's just incredible to have this product that's made here from nature with incredible biodiversity of flowers. It's shocking. And in one spoonful of honey, there's about 60,000 flowers, and it's all the flowers within 2-3 kilometers. So it's just shocking to taste.
So I've eaten over 300,000 flowers. I've eaten over 300,000 easily. I can eat through that jar right now. I'm stopping. I'm stopping myself. Well, thank you very much, Nicholas, for taking the time. Really appreciate it. This has been, I know you're one busy bee, and this has been a lot of fun learning about honey and how you produce this wonderful product. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thanks. We hope you liked this week's episode, and if you'd like to reach out to us or just want to simply check out our previous episodes, visit our website, Montreal Marketeers, that's with 2 E's.com. You can also download our weekly episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Say life isn't worth the fight, and we hear Molly say everything will be alright. I'll tell you my life story. I'll tell you my life story. I'll tell you the truth. Hey, hey, hey. Singing on Sunday morning, but I play the jukebox pretty late the night before. I talk a good game about the way you need to live, but I'll probably end up with a picket fence and a couple of kids. Now I'm telling my life story. I